My guest today, his name is Luoh. He is a Shanghai-based filmmaker. He has mainly dabbled in commercials, but last year came out with a short horror film. We'd like to talk a little bit about that today, amongst other things. How's it going, Luke?
All right, it's morning over here, and it's bright and early. Everything's cool.
Yeah, that's true. So for those that don't know, I am on the East Coast in South Jersey, and it is about 9:18 p.m. on the 8th of, April? And yeah, you're a day ahead of me.
Well, I'm exactly 12 hours, so, just flip it, and we're good.
You're in the future.
I'm in the future, that's right.
So as of right now, the coronavirus is still a rampant son of a bitch. By the time this airs, this could be in the initial launch. I still got to figure it out. But regardless, it's going to be at the latest in June. That's only 2 months away. So how is life like right there in China?
Well, complicated. I mean, they're trying to get back into the fold, trying to ramp business up, trying to get everyone to get back to work and not isolate. But, social distancing is still very enforced. They got this code that you have on your phone because China, I guess a lot of people don't know, China is was one of the leaders in cashless payments. So pretty much people don't use cash anymore, and everything is bound on the phone. And they've actually put this secondary app onto the payment app, and that gives you a green code if your area is not infected at all, and you can more or less behave normally, but they're still enforcing social distancing. And personally, that may be a little bit premature. I mean, they're giving out these signals of trying to say, okay, we're back to a capacity of some sort, but as we know, there's still a lot of asymptomatic out there, and we're cautious.
Oh yeah, of course, as you should be. So I'm not even gonna act like I know or am a authority with this whole virus outbreak. The reason why I wanted to talk to you about it was because you're in China. That's where it started. I think it'd be interesting for me and probably some of my listeners to hear from just a regular person, not the media. I'm just curious as to what your reaction and what your family's reaction or friends that were in that country when this all started to break out, news got out, was the media on it pretty quickly, and was your government on it pretty quickly?
Well, as everyone know, and I think, in the world knows now, China has behaved relatively slow on the upfront. So like in the very beginning, Wuhan basically made light of the situation, but it's almost human now when we look at it in the global perspective, because at the time we were very much online community. Everyone is basically yelling about it and being extremely irritated. I would say they were irritated. There was a lot of acidity happening with that, but overall, as soon as the central caught on that the local government was actually making light of the situation, it's almost immediate lockdown. It's like, it's night and day. We were having a Chinese New Year dinner at my in-laws, and the next day we're locked down. We're literally not exiting the house. There's very little preparedness going into it, but we adapted. And again, China has an extremely robust system of couriers and cashless payment that was actually, in my personal opinion, basically at least reduced 50% of the infection rate. And that is massive, because everything's bound to the phone. And as I said before, but it started as panic, everyone. It's normal. Right? There's even less preparedness on the public side, compared to, United States. There's very little forewarning, except on the Wuhan side, and we hear words that the hospitals are getting overwhelmed. And we were like, okay, that's probably not going to come to us in Shanghai, but pretty much next day, everyone's in social distancing, full on lockdown, in government enforced, which is draconian, but it's almost like what has to be done,
Yeah, absolutely. Shanghai, that's a pretty big city too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's, permanent residents registered is something along the line of like 18 to 19 million. And with all the migrant workers, which are people from other parts of China, we're looking at almost 23, 24 million people. And China, throughout the whole thing, especially the first month and a half-ish, basically is on full lockdown with basically about 700 to 800 million people locked in at home. And that's literally watching paint dry. And, people are, on the streets, like just being caught and then being sent home. There are, full on enforced for tracking, contact tracing, which is, like if you're in contact with people who are in viruses, it's, it's bad. Even in Shanghai, which we had only like at the end of the day, when it's petering off, around 200, 300 cases, confirmed, which is not much.
No.
It's still, everyone is on heavy alert. And yeah, it's complicated, but I'll bring it up, and at the risk of sounding a bit racist, I think the Asian community, especially the Chinese community, has a lot more kind of built-in alert for this sort of thing, because in the living memory, the last 40 years, China basically jumped from a or early industrialized country to the second largest economy in the world. And so in living memory, people are still hurting from a lot of disasters, and a lot of lack of medical attention, a lot of death. We had SARS, which was a massive issue, and people are filled in for that reaction, whereas people in Canada, where I'm from, and people in US are not quite as, it seems further away,
Yeah, it seems sort of surreal. Like I said, I'm in South Jersey. I work in Atlantic City. I just drove through there today, and you would never know there was a virus. The way that people are reacting, there's as many cars, as many people outside as there normally would be. I don't normally work in the actual city. Like my company is on the outskirts of it, so I don't thankfully have to work in the heart of the city. But it's very strange. And I live about 30 minutes away in the suburbs. Still, it's kind of hard for me to see the difference. There's less traffic, but obviously places aren't open. That's a clear indicator. But besides that, traffic's not that light for me. I got friends in Philly that some are nurses, and they tell me horror stories. I hope I got this fear now that I'm a dad. Like, please don't let any of us be sick. How is it for you? Like, you're a dad. Your family's with you in Shanghai. Like, it's got to be terrifying.
Well, yeah. I mean, it changes things a lot, doesn't it? Once you become a parent, it's like I have a son who's a little bit more advanced age-wise, and he's 6 than I believe yours. Which is your son is less than 1 right now, right?
Yeah, he's 4.5 months old. He's super tiny.
Is it? Yeah. So it's a time that it's almost, I think, biological that we just have that built in of like, oh no, it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just me and the family. It's not just me and the wife, and the wife, and I'm sounding bad there. It's me and wife, and the missus, that needed taken care of. We're adults. And then suddenly there's this person that literally has no awareness of the world. And we're trying to, it starts to dawn on you when things like this are happening, and you're trying to provide somewhat of a, I guess, safe situation where they don't feel, even though if they're locked in at home, they're completely isolated from the world, as we all are. They can actually still feel that they're engaged and not panic, as the adults are really full on in panic mode, right? We're panicking at home, but we're panicking.
Yeah, that's our job, I guess, is to kind of say, hey, the world's crazy, but this is your safe zone. This is your haven, our home, your parents.
It's the last line of defense, right? And you work in essential services, don't you?
Yeah, it's a really, not even because of the virus. It's a weird job.
Right. What do you do?
So I've been there for 4 years. I work for my county, for the wastewater treatment facility. And what we do is, all the water in my county so not every town, it's a big county. Not every town has, city water. Not all the cities have piped in water to Atlantic City. Some of them have septic tanks. I guess their own towns take care of that sewage, but for the ones that are piped into us, it just, all that flow comes to us. We're in charge of, me personally, I'm an instrumentation technician. So my job is to, I didn't know what the hell that was, by the way, when I even applied for it. I needed a job. I just moved to Jersey with a job that I knew was a stepping stone for an asshole that owned a company, that did not treat his employees well. So I knew that I needed anything that paid more, and a county job sounded good. So what I do is I just take care of instruments that measure the flow of shit and piss water. Yeah, so I also work on burners for a 5-story furnace and a 3-story furnace. I have to learn so much. Like, I've been there for 4 years. I need another third.
Wait. Furnace as in shit drying.
Oh, yeah. So, just think about your basement. If you got a lot of actually, I don't want to speak for outside of the U.S. I don't know how common it is outside. I'm only speaking for, I guess, my experience in America. An incinerator, I guess. Furnace is just basically a big thing that has flames and it burns stuff, heats it up.
Right, but the purpose of that is to dry fecal matter and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, all that shit, sludge, and all the other gross stuff comes into a huge furnace, and it burns it. And the point of that is to separate, to dry out the solids as much as you can, because the goal is to separate solids from liquids. The liquids goes through a cleansing cycle. Then it goes through that one more time. Then where I am, it gets sent out into the ocean by about, I think it's like almost 2 miles to the Atlantic Ocean. And I found out about a year ago that the way we do it is pretty uncommon nowadays in the country, that furnace to dry shit. It's more common to use one way is drying beds. It's literally just
But that sounded more dangerous almost, because I mean that just things are coming to me in my head, and the last 3 weeks or so. And for those who are not aware, Wuhan just their their full-on lockdown yesterday. So, April the 8th was when Wuhan released their full lockdown. So they're allowing travel now outside of the city, and they're traveling outside of Hubei province. So that's a thing. And the rest of the country is on full high alert because, we're worried, right? I mean,
of course,
there's all that people still wandering around. And the last 3 weeks or so, there's still community spread. There's still pockets of community spread inside Wuhan. This whole thing is making us like 2.5 months of locking yourself at home make you kind of cuckoo. And then you start looking at these data and start using confirmation bias, like you're starting to see these patterns of things that probably doesn't really correlate. But they're still seeing these pattern of small pockets of communal spread that are non-confirmed but suspected to be, old pipes from inside the wall, old sewage pipes. And as we so far know, it seems to actually travel. It can spread by fecal matter, and it almost seemed like full-on drying, not like air dry, like drying bed. Like actually heated drying is safer. It does feel safer.
Yeah, I can't really comment as an expert on that part, but my job is very dangerous. Everyone that works in a job similar to mine, I have to, for one instrument that's underground, not too far underground, but I have to go in at least one manhole, twice a year on a busy street that we have to get a company to come in to block off and put cones up. Even with that, people drive on the wrong side. It's fucking crazy. People are.
Yeah, but it's people are people. What's that quote from Men in Black? Like a person is, paraphrasing here, a person is reasonable, is nice. You can have a nice conversation with them. People are just disasters.
Oh yeah, when they're talking about when they're talking about why the general public is not aware of the existence of aliens on Earth.
Of course, or yeah, exactly. I mean, not existence. It's like the moment that they are aware, they go into mob mentality, they go into panic mode, where you can kind of affect person one at a time, and then you can engage it that way. But people, as a general population world over, the human species we're not rational creatures.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Especially, it's pretty well spotlighted on social media every single day.
And social media is interesting like that. We need to get into it and we need to know things are happening, and it's great that we're all connected. And I think this whole virus has taught us that the world is literally a global village now. We're no longer kind of isolated in our own country. We're no longer isolated in our own little culture, and it's codependent. The whole world is codependent right now. But social media is extremely toxic because everybody has their own thing, right? They are all listening from different sides of the story, and none of them are really true. It's all just polarized, right? But that's how it is. It's kind of have to wade through the noise, yeah.
I guess to piggyback on that point, I'm really into and have been for a while, pretty much since the year he died. I don't know why I chose that year, but Steve Jobs, I really got into reading his biographies, watching his documentaries, and something interesting that goes along with what you just said is he was talking about this one time in the 70s, him and his friend went to India, and that's when he had his spiritual awakening, and he didn't return back there until he was a father, and probably the 21st century. It would have had to have been the early 21st century. He returned, and he said it's not the same. It's like parts of America. It's like there's no real, this is an identity of India, China, or fucking Texas, or wherever, that we're all becoming integrated like the thing that he created, which is just so ironic. And
right.
I don't know. I wonder what we would do without social media. I don't know.
Interconnectivity, smartphone, and it's all that stuff. It's like, how do we live without it? It's like, and it's relatively quick, like iPhone's 11 years old? How do you live without iPhone and iPad these days, or some sort of connectivity? You especially in China, where the awareness is extremely huge. I mean, my parents, my in-laws, their friends are on social media, different social media. There's something called WeChat, but they're all on that, and they do their payments on that. They do all their socializing on it. It's like the older population are very well adapted on that, and you can't live literally in China without some form of phone or connectivity device that makes you comfortable. Right.
I'm curious to learn more about that. So as far as the cashless thing, like we got that in America too, but it sounds more prevalent in at least your part of China. So it's I can't speak for every American, but for at least me and my friends, some of our parents, I'm 31, my parents are in their mid 60s, so my dad would always make like dumb jokes about me and my brother and sister texting or Facebook, and now he does it more than me. And
they go crazy. The older generation go absolutely crazy with this sort of thing, and they send things that are, I don't know. I mean, wow. I thought we were, as a generation of people who grew up with it, the generation of people who were adults when this thing was happening, and we were really well adapted with it. We thought we were being, assholes and stuff online. And then you have our parents who are coming in with like these, Dad, you can't say that. You really should write that. This is public. You realize Twitter is public.
Do they gossip a lot?
Oh yeah. There are things that really should not be brought up on social media. I mean, harmless, but not socially polite on that kind of sphere,
So, what's like? Okay, so I know you said you're from Vancouver. Have you been to the United States? Have you been there often at all?
Well, I'm very well adapted. I mean, well, let's just say, my dad, we're going to go into a long story that I'm going to try to make short. My dad went to, school for his MBA, in the early 80s, in the States, in Houston. Houston or Dallas. I can't remember exactly. So as a family, we're always pretty North Americanized. We had quite a bit of access compared to the local population in, at the time, Taiwan. Then we immigrated to Canada, which obviously means we're North Americans. We adapted very quickly. We incorporated ourselves into the society really, really quickly. We moved into a community that has 3, Chinese family and 18 Asian families. It's just our way, our family's always been a little bit more we have to make sure we know what the local community is like before we have a little bit of almost that hippie attitude. My parents are late hippies.
Oh, no kidding.
Kind of, early preppy, it's kind of, we don't know what they are, but they have a little bit of everything. They working office job, but at home they go, yeah, whatever. Fuck this. They have that attitude with life, and then it's it helps with a good childhood because we're all always being you want to do that? Great. Does it cost money? No? Great. Go do it.
So what got you in Shanghai?
Well, work, it's interesting. I came to Shanghai kind of, on a lark. The film industry at the beginning of 2000s in Vancouver are still, I wouldn't say xenophobic, but it's a very big, boys club, much less so now. At the time, the Chinese population and things like that, you could still have, a bit of segregation or barrier from getting decent jobs, or enough caseload as filmmakers or, freelancers. And we go in and a lot of people, you go on set and people go, okay, you're Asian? Because my last name doesn't sound like I'm from anywhere.
Yeah, I want to.
It's not Chinese. It's not Chang or Li or
I don't know where to place Luo. Am I saying that right?
It's a mistranslation. It's a mistranslation from it's a mistranslation from a Taiwanese translation that's kind of bastardized by a period of time where nobody knows what they're supposed to do with, romanticization of the word, of the Chinese spelling. So, it's, I think that's to my benefit, but I've showed up on set and, they're like, oh, you're Asian. I'm like, so,
Oh, I didn't know.
Whoops.
Should I have been paid?
Yeah. Whoops. No, but it's a huge cultural shock because the moment that you enter China, you become homogenized in that culture. They see you as another Asian, or another Chinese. They have small separation as people do. People from Jersey, south of Jersey and north of Jersey, like, we're not like you,
Oh, man. Yep.
And we're, they do these small separations. So it's like kind of differentiations. But the moment that you enter into China, you have this cultural shock, like absolute cultural shock of, wait, I'm in a society of people who look exactly like me. So now it's almost like it's like the American dream, because nobody cares if you're Asian and they can't point at you and go, you're Asian, I can't hire you because we're all Asians. So it does help, to create, a sort of, atmosphere to be able to do better work or learn a lot more.
That makes sense.
It's complicated. The world has changed a lot in the last 16 years I've been in China. That's a long time. But right now, China, like I came in from an era where China is much more like, we have to do things. We don't know what we're doing. Like, foreign people have save us, not really, but it's like, we have no new ideas. Which isn't true, but it's very much the cultural consensus at that time where foreign things are better. To now where there are quite a lot of parts of the societal thing in China that are way more advanced than North America, which is weird to say, it's a statement,
Yeah.
But that comes at that does come at the exchange of some form of freedom, because the discussion, the discourse of America has always been, a balance between how much freedom and how much safety can you correlate. And China, well, not going into politics, but China does have security at the sacrifice of a little bit or quite a bit of freedom. But, you live safe. And I don't know. It's a complicated situation.
I'm sure. One that I don't think I can grasp. Something
Nobody owns guns. Yeah. Nobody owns guns.
Oh, they're illegal there?
Well, they're absolutely illegal. I mean,
like all guns. You can't have any.
Oh yeah. None. Neither is Japan. And they have an incredibly, good, control on lockdown on that. But it's the same thing, right? Hong Kong as well.
Well, what's like the crime rate over there?
Well, violent crime is relatively low. So social safety is really good. But you have these white collars, you have these scans, and that's the same everywhere. The world is all the same. It's just, but those percentages tend to be higher because they exist on the border of the law.
Okay. That I never knew that. I wanted to jump ahead to something a little bit more light, and we can come back to this.
Please.
We can come back to this for sure if you want later, because this is really interesting.
Well, it's cabin fever. I mean, what can you say? 2.5 months, almost 3 months, but just like, hey, what does the sun look like? What's this giant thing in the sky? I have no idea what that is.
I guess that's a benefit for me going to work every day. And I just wanted to touch on that real quick. The reason why it's dangerous is due to a lot of things, but one of the factors is the gases that ship produces, and when it builds up, it gets really bad because there's areas where we have to go into, have to bring a gas detector. There's gases that you won't smell them; they'll kill you. There's plenty of stories throughout the country that one guy goes down to a manhole, doesn't come up. The guy that's supposed to watch him goes down, investigates, doesn't come up. Firefighter comes, checks him out, can't go down with his self-contained breathing apparatus, takes it off, goes down, doesn't come up. All three of them are dead. We've had a few close calls. There was one, I won't go into details about it because I still work there, but there was one close call where someone almost died. It wasn't related to gas, but I don't know. We deal with big industrial machines. We deal with a big furnace. It's a scary job.
You're essential service. You keep, you're essential service. You keep people running. You keep massive machinery of the society running so people can actually stay at home. Nurses, medical professionals, they're invisible. People like you are invisible when nothing is going wrong. I didn't even know this job existed until I applied for it on a website. It looked like a good website. Oh, look, the pay is good. Click.
Yeah. Indeed.com, man. Free advertisement, I guess. I'm sure.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, yeah. Good call. So, Kung Fu Hustle. I just got to put that out there. It's based in China. The movie, just for those that don't know, it's by director-writer, Andy starred in it, Stephen Chow. It's based in China, Shanghai, China in the 1940s. It's a gangster-type movie, kinda.
We don't know what it is. It's a comedy. It's a comedy, but it's really slapstick. His style has always been very slapstick. It's interesting that you're bringing that film up because they literally, the part of town that he built, we still use it to shoot all the time. We go in. Yeah, it's basically a backlot that they use it for tourism. But we can also lock it down and do advertisements and, whenever we call for old-timey Shanghai, they recreated that entire intersection that still exists, a real intersection that exists.
Oh, the one with the traffic light where they're sitting.
With the little pole in the middle, with little watchtower in the middle. Yeah. That intersection actually exists.
No shit. Is that a function light?
That's a function. That's a full. Well, it's a backlot, so none of it is functional until you actually wire it to be functional. But
right.
It's that real intersection exists. It's obviously modernized. Everything is torn down. The buildings still stand, but right next to it is a 7-story mall with 2 multiplexes,
Yeah, I can picture it in my head. The reason I brought it up is because, and I don't want to act like I've seen a bunch of different foreign films. I'm a big fan of Kung Fu Hustle. I don't know why I saw it, but when I saw it, I'm like, I need that fucking DVD. And I bought it. I kept a decent amount of my DVD collection because I collect CDs. Yeah, man. I love,
look at it. This, we are in a really strange time in the world, and that has proven people like you and me right. And I'll go into it.
How so?
Because we love physical media.
Take that, Mom. Another person said, I'm right.
Exactly. We're right.
Yeah, we're right.
We're right. No, it's
tell me why.
Something. I'll tell you why. We love physical media. You love books. I love books.
I love all the media.
Well, physical media. The difference is it's a hoarding mentality, isn't it? It's like
100%.
We don't really trust Kindle. It's good on a lark, but then I'll buy the book anyways. I'll listen to the podcast and I'll listen to the audiobook, but I'll read the book at the same time.
Yeah.
As, just following it through just for that experience. And, we're keeping DVDs. I have rack full of, DVDs. Hashtag not pirated.
Is that a thing?
It's something that needs to be said. What if the internet goes down tomorrow? We're in a lockdown, right? Essential services. And, I don't know how many times Facebook has gone down in the last month, due to heavy traffic. And everyone's like, oh, we can stream media. So I can take my hand, go to my rack, pick the one disc I really want to watch, stick it into the player, and play it. Take that.
That's a great thing. I love it. And I love Kung Fu Hustle. That's the only movie, on the top of my head, that's the only Chinese-based film. And I've watched it so many times. I love that DVD. I'm surprised I didn't burn through the actual disc, but it's just so funny. And it's very slapsticky, like you said. And there's this one scene, I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, where it's just like, that's Looney Tunes.
Well, his whole style has been that. He's done, 30 films? Something like that, 30 odd films.
He's done
and then he's got a few films that are actually picked up by Hollywood, but they end up in development hell. Because his stuff, and then just quickly go into his later stuff, because he's stopped starring in his own films. Because he's, toward later part of his, career, at the time when he's starring things, he's also directing his own films, toward the later half. And then he turned directly into directing and stopped starring in his own films. And it just doesn't feel right. It's his brand of comedy. It's like unique to him, and he needed to be the star in order to kind of convey that, and it's just how he is, and it's extremely messed up. I mean, some of the stuff he does. I mean, he gets bitten by a snake. Great. Now his whole body is allergic. And then using combination of really old school special effect and really weird practicals, outdated to our standard nowadays, but it's like he just blabbers along before he passes out. And that entire sequence is gold, right?
Absolutely. And the best thing about that movie, it'd be weird, but you don't need to know what they're saying. It's so funny and visually pleasing.
You don't really need subtitles, right? It's like, the landlady comes in,
I love her.
It's just a landlady. It's a typical landlady in Hong Kong or Shanghai or one of those places. And man, she's awesome. You're just like, okay, you guys are fighting outside. You're doing these high class kung fu moves with all kinds of special effect. I come in, I yell at you. You go. Get out.
She's got a voice, man. I wouldn't want to piss her off.
Well, that's a voice.
So I'm curious as to
Sorry, I'm doing tangents and stuff.
No, I mean, this is good. It's filling up the minutes, man. It's not just me talking. So that's what my whole podcast is about. It's a conversation. So wherever it goes, it goes.
Yeah, but from following up on your previous recording on this podcast, and you're getting people for actual writers, people are really decent experts and people of their field. And here you have me. Here's an episode of just two dudes, just like, dude.
I actually told one of my close friends and a few other people, that I was talking to you, and they don't know you specifically, but they're like, that's pretty cool. A Shanghai-based filmmaker. Cause I would think it would be cool, and I'd want to hear about what they would have to say, because you're not from America, you're not from Canada, you're not from even the UK or Australia. It's just different, and that's my goal. I'm trying to get as many different people as I can. And
right.
I mean, I got a few people that aren't horror-based in line. I'm not going to say who, just in case that falls through, but I want to touch on every industry I can. for however long I do this for, because my model is based off of the Joe Rogan experience, and that's what got me into.
He's a celebrity. But he's a celebrity. You know,
oh yeah. He
gets all these people from wrestling. He gets it from like he makes a phone call. Yeah, you know, and go, so and so, you're worth more than $40 million. Come on my show. You know,
yeah.
And we're chat.
I totally get that he's got an in with pretty much anyone he wants, which is fun. I mean, if I had my way, I would want to talk with Kevin Smith. I love that guy, but I'm just gonna talk to whoever.
Request for Kevin Smith. Request for Kevin Smith. Please come on this podcast.
That'd be great. He's a Jersey guy, so maybe I could use that as a little segue with him. But in all seriousness, whoever I can get that I think would be interesting, that's who I want to talk to.
To just quickly on a tangent again, I call myself, because people need framework to know who I am or what I actually do.
Yeah, I'd love to get that. So tell the people. I'm
just gonna be really quickly saying two things. So one is I call myself, and that's because it's China, I call myself TBCBC. You know, you heard the word ABC, American-born Chinese, CBC, Canadian-born Chinese, etc. I call myself TBCBC. So I'm Taiwan-born, Canadian-bred Chinese, right? So that makes everyone I interact with in China just go, oh, so you're one of those, even though they don't really know what that means. And for the last 16 years or so, I've been stuck in China, being in Shanghai specifically as an advertisement slave. You know, I've done a little bit of everything. Executive producer for commercials, 5 years ago switching to director. I've been agency producer, just hustling, general hustle, like you have to do to keep moving. So that's where I'm at. So, and in the last year and a half ago or so, I've been trying to get back into narrative, because that's where what I went to school for. That's what I actually did for. I went to an art school, like very liberal art school. And they literally say, it's one of those film department that trains you to be auteurs, like instead of telling you how to make a film, we tell you why make a film, monocle. They got that kind of mentality. So I'm trying to get back to narrative, and a couple of projects are in development with that, and 48-hour, 48-hour film project in Shanghai has a little thing, and I've been judging for them for 2 years straight, and I go, why not? Let's go back in.
Tell us about that. Before we go any further, just explain to people what that is, because I'm guessing a lot of people won't know.
Okay, yeah. So 48-hour film project is a project that started as an offshoot of a lot of 48 hours kind of competition throughout 90s that really culminated in a group of people who came up and say, hey, we're making it official. And they started making this, it's right now the biggest 48-hour contest in the world, right? Competition. It's not free, and it's for profit, but they've done, this competition where you have 48 hours. They give you a bunch of thematics. So a character, a line of dialogue, a prop, and you have to pick, you draw out of a hat for different genres that you have to, address. And you have 48 hours from concept to finish. So concept to delivery, final edit on a USB stick in front of the contest organizers of your local city organizer. And you have that 48 hours to complete a 4 to 7 minute film.
That's fucking nuts.
It is. But there are some great film that came out of it. Last year, what's the guy? Freeman, not Morgan, but the Lord of the Ring guy.
I'm sure it wouldn't be Morgan Freeman.
Well, his son has been in one, apparently.
All right. I am proven wrong. He has some connection to this.
Yeah, but, the other Freeman, the Lord of the Ring Freeman, what's his name?
You're talking about, Peter Jackson.
No, what's his name? sorry, I've uploaded my consciousness and memory up to the internet. So now, my memory as a person is completely just going, ooh.
What, is he an actor?
Yeah, it's the actor for the Hobbit series. What's his name? The other half of
I'm gonna look it up.
What's that? Sherlock. The Watson in Sherlock. He was in one of the films.
Are you talking
last
about
year in London?
You talking about Iron Man?
What? I have no idea. Just going into weird tangent. No, that was the Sherlock, the British series.
Yeah.
The Dr. Watson in that, he's apparently one of them.
I just looked it up. I cheated. Martin Freeman.
Right. He's in one of them. Hey, we're filling up the minutes. Whee!
No kidding. I'm actually a big fan of him, man. He's a phenomenal actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a great young Bilbo Baggins. Like the first Hobbit, I actually never saw the other two. I guess I should, but
Ooh.
Gina, are you booing me for watching it, or are you booing the film?
Or not watching it?
Well, you know what? How
can you not have a marathon of the entire Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, 24 hours, marathon every other weekend? Sorry,
right.
I'm just joshing you.
I'm right there because I actually, my favorite, if I had to pick one series that's my favorite book series, I guess I'm going to go with Lord of the Rings because it's just so fucking perfect. For me.
It is.
There are people that don't like J.R.R. Tolkien's style of writing. Some people that don't like the films, but for me, the films are a great adaptation too.
Well, they do remove too much, stuff that were part of it.
They removed a major part in the first book, though. Tom Bombadil. I don't know if you read. Have you read the book?
Yeah, he's in the game though. He's. I think Bombadil is in the tie-in video game or the second one of that. He's in there.
He wasn't a side character. He was a crucial part in the beginning of that book.
And a lot of those but they do try to put in references. I mean, Bombadil and his entire rant was like a major part of the book. Was like an entire chapter of just him walking around being Bombadil. Yeah. So it's removing that is a dismay to a lot of fans. But I mean, as a book series, it's about near perfect, I think. Like next to the Dune series, which is extremely phenomenal up to book 4 when it gets really confusing. But the original Dunes, the first 3 Dunes are brilliant.
I got the first. I heard the first one's amazing. I haven't read it. There's so many books. There's so many books that I want to read.
Yeah, we were in contact online and on Twitter, and and we mentioned that offhand. There's this pile of media that are just sitting there rotting, as we're just impossible. It's like an impossible mountain that we cannot climb. We try to do it one piece at a time, but it's
But it looks like a nice mountain to climb. I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try, but you're never gonna succeed because films. There's 8,000 films made every year. Internationally.
Yeah,
something like that. And it's most of them will never get recognition for how much work they put in. And books as well. I mean, again, shout out to, Deadhead. You guys review a lot of very interesting kind of up and comers and really established or old gold work that people are just kind of forgotten.
Yeah, so that's the fun thing about jumping into the indie horror scene is there's so many good people that write, and most of them probably won't be remembered.
No, they won't. I mean, Ostinato, so again, bringing back to the film that I did for 48 hours.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Ostinato
That's a big circle, I'm circling back to it.
Ostinato is the film that your first time in this contest that you used to judge.
Right.
And you judged your film as well.
Second time. The first time was 15 years ago, so it doesn't really count.
I was only kidding about that last part. You did not judge your own film, just to be clear.
No. Who? What? No, what?
You were talking and I talked, and don't worry. Let's just fast forward. I made a joke. It wasn't funny. Didn't stick. So you filmed Ostinato.
We'll let the audience decide that.
Okay. Tell me about that experience filming that. What was that like?
Well, it's tough. I knew how tough it would be going in, obviously, because I had judged it 2 years in a row. But going into it, phew, it's an exercise. It's an exercise. It's a sprint to the finish, the last second possible. You know, you're trying to get onto a car and then try to like find parking and then try to get the USB stick right in front of them. Like, and the editor is like sitting there going, I have another hour. No, you have to render. You have to finish. You have to output. You know, and then we're shooting and we're ambitious because again, I was a judge. So I have to make sure that I'm, you know, not horrible at it, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I have to, you know, kind of prove myself now. And I had 3 location change in 48 hours. I still have to leave enough time for editing and sound and mixing and music and color. And I had a great team though. I mean, the team came together. None of us has really worked together before, and they pulled it off. I mean, we had an actual 5.1 mix after that. I mean, we submitted stereo, but we still had a 5.1 mix, and that's interesting, right? The actors, everything was really interesting.
I liked it. I thought it was a good film.
It's tough though, because a lot of the real film festivals are not taking it. Because part of that is because it's length. It's really short. It's only, I think the version we have now submitted to festival is less than 6 minutes. It's like 5 minute and 50 odd second, including credit. So it's really short. It's really punchy. It's got like an almost relentless rhythm. And for the first half of that film, you're not supposed to know what you're watching, right? It's kind of experimental in that way. And,
yeah, you fooled me on that one.
You're like, what the hell is going on? And that's what we want. And then suddenly like, and then the horror element comes in, right? You have like a moment of just confusion and then a moment of like extreme violence, and that you just go, well, extreme, it's pretty violent. I would put it like PG-13 probably.
Yeah, nowadays.
Nowadays. It will be R in like the 60s. But, yeah. It's PG-13 violence that you just takes a fraction of a second, just makes you even more confused because what? How? Why is that violence there? And that's the horror element. And then we kind of twist it at the end to kind of go, okay, so this is the story that we're kind of telling you, but we still want you to decide what the real story is. And a lot of the big festivals, the bigger festivals, the more real festivals are not taking the film in. We're getting huge amount of rejection letters. Partially because one, it's done in 48 hours. So we're never going to measure up to the people who spent months, maybe years on a 12-minute short, right? But, we are also not being received. We're received extremely kindly. We got a lot of awards, we got a lot of play, a lot of official selections, but still the real festivals, and like even the horror ones, are not really taking the film in, which is, you know, I wouldn't say discouraging, but as a film that I think has some kind of, I would say, entertainment value, it's kind of lost.
Yeah, I think I'd be bummed because you did put your heart into it. It was a short, small span of time that you filmed it, but still, I mean, isn't this your baby? It's your first directorial debut, the first
the first public, right? The first public non-advertisement, no client thing, right? I mean,
right.
Totally freedom, right? It's like you just sit down with the team, with the scriptwriter, sit down with the actor, and then just go, what the fuck are we doing? You know, and the team, like we have these elements, we have a line of dialogue, and we have this horror or sports. We actually got horror and or sports. That's sit down and try to figure that out. Obviously we selected horror, and we went psycho horror, obviously, because sports films are boring. We almost wanted to do a zombies kicking heads like soccer.
That would have been funny.
Not enough time to do it in 48 hours. We have to find a soccer field. We have to make everyone up as zombies, It's
a lot of makeup, too.
Oh, yeah. And you've seen how ambitious our film is. We had quite a bit of makeup.
I like the practical effects you guys had. I know there weren't a whole lot, but the ones that you did, I enjoyed them. Thought they were good.
Yeah, they were very...
I'm not saying they were good for what they were. I'm saying they were good practical effects, no matter what the length of the film or quality of the film was.
Right, but it's definitely not like full-on body horror type or one of those like deep thinking zombie films, which have. Well, there's some brilliant films out there that are like, wow, they're again, it's a 48-hour film, I believe, and it's like the year before, one of the cities. And maybe Detroit, I'm not too sure, that had a woman who's zombified. It's a zombie apocalypse, and gave them birth to a kid. And now the dad, who's the protagonist of the story, has to take care of a newborn kid that may or may not be zombified with a wife that's chained on the wall that is a zombie. So that's a deep thinking zombie film, and a lot to pack in under 7 minutes.
Sounds like a super strange. I'd watch it. Sounds fucking weird though.
Yeah, I watched it. It's brilliant. There's some brilliant films in the horror genre that are just kind of off-put. Like people are like not looking at horror as a real genre,
I think that's always been the case. It looks like a really exciting... Did you watch Train to Busan?
Yeah. Oh, they're making a new one. They're making a new one. Right?
That's where I'm going with this. Peninsula looks awesome.
Well, it's gotta be good. I mean, if anything, Train to Busan is like, if it just take it and amp it up like 1 degree, turn it up to 11. I'm sure it's already 11, so turn it up to 12. Okay, that's because 12 is definitely louder.
Did you watch the prequel to Train to Busan?
No, I don't. I haven't seen it.
I watched it. I watched it on YouTube. Probably shouldn't say that too loudly, but it was free. It's called Sail Station, and I might be pronouncing that city name wrong too.
I'll look into that.
So it doesn't have a direct connection with any of the characters from Train to Busan, but it's just an animated feature where it's the beginning of the outbreak, and I liked it. The effects were really cool. It's by the same director. What's his name? Sang Ho.
Time to cheat. Time to cheat. Where is that IMDb? Not answered.
No, I am cheating right now because I would not remember certain facts. Like Sang Ho Yeon.
Well, I think as the point I made earlier, where I think we've all uploaded our memory onto the internet now. Like because we have these phones, we have these computers, we have these devices that are always connected, and you just go, I don't remember. I know it's the film with that guy that has all these strange things with animals, and he skins them, and texted me, and at the end he made himself into a really perverted version of a statue of David by killing himself. What's that film? And then you spend like 30 minutes trying to find Textermia.
I haven't seen that, but that one sounds fucked up.
It's horribly fucked up, but it's body horror to that level of like just societal weird. It's a social critic, as all good films are. Textermia. You should definitely take a look. It's body horror, it's psychological horror, and it's social commentary, and it's very, very interesting.
Sounds it. Have you are you into Bong Joon-ho, the guy that did Parasite?
Oh yeah. He's complicated with that guy. He's very in as far as Koreans are concerned, he's big name over there. right? He is one of those definite up-and-comers, or he's definitely established in that realm as a very good director. And but outside of Korea, he's really not that known, right? But he did Snowpiercers.
Yeah, that was his first Hollywood one. So my local theater had Parasite playing for only like a week, and I saw it on one of the last days. And
it's a film. It's a film.
I thought it was going to be a horror film. I'm not disappointed at all. Like that was
It's horrifying. It's horrifying in the mental sense of the word. It's not horrifying in the sense of like, oh, horror. Like, oh, here's some bodies, here's some blood. Well, there's some blood in there, but yeah, and then a lot of killing. Spoiler alert. But
yes,
it's definitely a film. It's definitely a film. It's definitely film with a capital F. Just like, Logan is not a superhero film. It's a film with a capital F.
So, would you be able to talk, or are you willing to talk about any of the features that you mentioned earlier on?
Features. Please
clarify. Features that you have planned for yourself, that you're working on, your own projects.
Well, sure. I mean, I have multiple things in the run, all hopefully panning out or not or whatever. It's just, you got to keep yourself going when you're not kowtowing to the clients as advertisement slaves are. You got to keep yourself working. And I've had, working as in it's no income. None of it will probably ever pan out. But I'm in the process of doing an adaptation or loose adaptation, hopefully faithful to, Frankenstein. The original Frankenstein.
Do tell us, sir.
It's complicated. Frankenstein is a story that is extremely complicated, and that is why it's both kind of I'll say father, but it's not. It's the mother, really, of modern sci-fi, as well as to some extent modern horror.
Yeah.
Set in social context, and it's written by a 13, 14-year-old kid.
Mary Shelley.
Mary Shelley, man.
Yeah.
Oh, 16.
I was gonna say she's a teenager. I forget the exact age.
And then her story is brilliant. Like, if you actually look into it, if you look up both the two most iconic horror monster style characters, and I'm talking about Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, as well as Dracula, were actually conceived in the same night. How fucked up is that?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, wait, Dracula was written like 100 years later.
By Bram Stoker, but I'm specifically talking about conception. So, Mary Shelley is daughter to an early feminist and a early free lover. So that's already super messed up. They're in the romantic era. There's, and her father is one of the biggest, well-known romantic poet. All right. And, Percy Shelley is a writer, another poet who's enamored or student of her father. And that specific reason, and so she ended up eloping with the guy, like to Percy Shelley. So they eloped, and she had a miscarriage because she's freaking 16. I mean, your body's really not ready. So she had a misconception, and since he's somewhat well connected, they went to a cottage in Italy, I believe, belonging to a wealthy, British or Frenchman, I can't remember, that had also fallen out from high society because of scandals. In the winter in the summer of the year without sun. So there's a massive volcano eruption in Europe, right? And that entire day, the entire summer, because the entire year, there were no sun in Europe because of that massive mega volcano eruption. And so it was cold, it was damp, and it was lightning and rain. You know, think of that environment. So thunder outside, people gathering around the fire. It's brilliant though, because that created this. So the guys, so they're stuck in this villa, right? So massive villa, think about that. South of Italy, and middle of Italy, and then they have lightning and thunder outside. It's cold. They're gathered around the fire, right? And then that nobleman, as what I believe is a count, I'm not too sure, count or viscount, and he's basically said, let's make up a story that will scare people. Right?
Oh, it was a contest, wasn't it?
It was a contest. Loose contest. And then two people stuck on that. There's I cannot remember the guy's name, the physician of the nobleman, who wrote a very early version of Dracula. But it's not Dracula full form, right? It's Dracula in the sense of like, okay, there's this vampire. He's out to hunt people, and he's unbelievably charming, right? The way big framework, right? And that was taken eventually down, not 100 years, but like 50, 60 years down the line by Bram Stoker, and inspired the actual creation of Bram Stoker's Dracula fully formed. And then Mary Shelley went back and spent months writing the framework for Frankenstein. Percy Shelley edited it, and under pseudonym, because they don't want people to know she's a woman, and a young woman at that.
Right, back then, no way.
And then published it. And at the beginning there was no major acclaim until much later, even after Percy died of a boating accident with the nobleman. Complicated thing. There's a whole write-up on it. I have mountains of research over here that half of it I can't remember. Again, uploading the memory and social consciousness into the internet on the computer. So that is messed up. So what's really interesting is, so the environment of that kind of claustrophobic gathering of that lightning and thunder, of that catalyst, created two of the most memorable monsters of our generation, right?
Yeah. Well, not just ours.
Well, yes. Well, for us, it's more, we can look back on it. Maybe in the future, because of all the film, maybe film is going to replace that. You know, the film adaptation version of that, though it's hopefully faithful. But if you look into the structure of Frankenstein, it's extremely complicated. It's a story nested inside a story nested inside a story, and they unlock, and they're interconnected. So that's why after massive research, I've never found a film that is actually spiritually correct on Frankenstein. But anyway, that's a tangent. That's one thing I'm working on.
Can we just put a pin mark on Frankenstein? Because I gotta know if you watch this one film adaptation of it, the Frankenstein, where Robert De Niro is the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, and what's her name? Helena Bonham Carter was the beauty. She's the beautiful woman in that show, in that movie.
What a strange adaptation.
It's actually much more faithful to the book, story-wise. But it's just, tonally, it's just like wrong. Because Frankenstein's monster is basically born out of something. It's been created. It doesn't know the world, but it's abandoned immediately. And then with a father who's really just not wanting to own up to having that son. You know, that's what the actual core story almost like. Again, the woman Mary Shelley just had a miscarriage, right? So it all ties in together. And wow. So yeah, that adaptation is extremely faithful to the book story, but spiritually and content level, it's wrong to my belief, you know.
So without breaking it down to the precise detail, if you can outline how does your version in your mind?
I'm not going into it. I'm just not going into it right now.
Okay.
I've done the structural analysis. I've done the first scene and the last scene in script. Looking for funding. Hello. try to make it into some sort of spot.
Sponsored
So that's
by-
a thing.
Sponsored
Another
by-
thing I'm working on, actually, that I've shot something for, is a thing. I just call it a thing. It used to be something that we wanted to make into television, but, no funding. We had this thing about these world where, for some reason, due to a disaster of unknown origin, coronavirus, we had, the youth of the teenagers of that generation are the only one who can go outside, right? And the society has collapsed. So basically like 90% of the population of the world has more or less died. So you have left with these pockets of adults stuck in massive buildings and who are still somewhat connected and has utility in science. And these teenagers were out gathering stuff. Kind of semi-dystopian society. We're trying to work into a television show, and we're trying to retool that to make it into a feature proposal. And we've gone that. And right now with the virus out there, it's kind of, we're trying to pick that back up a bit. Since that's an organism that kind of like Alien, we kind of take you over, and then before you die, you become very zombified. Here's the horror element. And that's pretty much where I'm gonna stop on that.
Yeah, so I think that's safe to say there's a lot more horror fans out there than people recognize themselves as horror fans, because you kind of said it. You described horror as just blood and,
It's not, isn't it?
No, it's horror is a lot of things. And to me,
horror is not a genre. Like, I'll say that, and probably a lot of your audience member who came in for Horror Talk will probably not be happy about me saying that.
Kill him.
What?
Wait, what?
Don't dox me, you know what? But what I'm specifically saying is, listen to me out, okay? Horror is not a genre. Horror is an overarching element. All right. And it's not being recognized enough as is. What I mean is horror is an exploration of the darker side, or the side of our psyche that we really refuse to acknowledge. We're talking about, death. We're talking about body horror, hurting yourself or being hurt. We're talking about supernatural elements that we cannot understand. We're talking about diseases, pandemic of like zombie proportions, that are just out there. There are things that we cannot normally understand in our real daily life. And horror brings that out. And that, as a structure and framework of the genre, I think that's extremely under-recognized. Another thing is that if you look at the elements of horror, right, you look at, Star Wars, the last one, which a lot of people liked or hate, it's bipolar, but, what's it called? The Rise of Skywalker. So people can hate me for it, which I actually thought wasn't that bad of a film.
I liked it. It made sense to me.
It made sense, but it's very wrapped together. It's like, oh, here, we made a bunch of mistakes and, we tried to retcon everything. But that film has a lot of very horrifying shots.
Oh, that last fight scene was fucking creepy.
Well, yeah. I mean, those are things that would not happen 30 years ago in any mainstream films. These are films that are 30 years ago will be considered horror, or even hard horror, like specific elements. That's how pervasive the horror environment sphere has become for us. And I find it a bit confusing why people still treat a lot of people treat it as, we have the sci-fi fan, we have the horror fan, we have the mainstream popcorn jockeys, and you have the blockbusters. It's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. The gangsters, the gangsters kind of became mainstream. The horror environment hasn't really, because you have these amazing films that come out once every while. You have the Saw, you have these small bits of sparkle.
The Ritual.
The Ritual. You have Cabin in the Woods, which has hit it big. But on an average level, it's like not even a tenth. I would venture to say much even less recognized than even sci-fi, right? Which, because MCU is actually sci-fi.
Yeah, I would think you can make a good argument for that, especially Iron Man.
Right.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah, I mean, they're looking at things scientifically. They're looking at it, okay, science, magic is just science you don't understand yet.
Yep. Yeah, so as far as...
Of course, superheroes and fights and looking snazzy and then upholding your values and we're doing the right things and here's a villain, that sort of thing. That's part of, superhero-dom.
It's, hit the nail on the head with that. As far as the way people view horror, my first experience with, and the only time I've not tried, the only time I have self-published a book, I took it off the market a few years ago. I don't like it. I don't want anyone to read it. But I was freelancing. I was looking for freelance editors. The way I would find my editor, I thought, okay, I'm going to ask them a few questions. If they sound like we would do well together, I'm going to give them 2 pages just to edit as a sample so I can see how they work. So I remember this one specific guy, this one editor, where my first question was, do you like horror? His response was a question. It was, why do you like to see people get hurt? And
wow.
I was just kind of taken aback. I felt like, should I be offended right now, tell him off, or just ignore him? So I looked into him a little bit, and he was very odd. I read one comment from someone that said he was a good editor. He helped me edit one of my school papers on whales. Kind of went on it.
Sorry, I'm no, like nothing against the guy, but come on.
He's a freelance editor, so he's doing whatever he can for money, but
it's not that, right, isn't it? It's like you're looking for an editor who can actually understand what you're going for, so that he can tell you whether you're going at the right direction of the things that you've intended to do.
Oh, yeah. Much. Yeah, so that was my whole point, was I was going for someone to help me better my story. I obviously didn't go with him, but he, I don't know if he's trying to guilt trip me, just trying to hold a higher moral ground. But I think that people that really don't get horror view horror as something that is,
horrifying.
Is morally unacceptable when, guess what? I'm going to say everything's got horror in it, including the Bible, including any good story.
Well, the Bible is horrifying. Have you read Revelation?
You got a god that's killing his own people, like the Egyptians, like in that religion. Because when you say
you're talking about the Old Testament, like the New Testament's not that much better.
So jump around, man. So when I say God, in this specific case, I'm talking about Catholicism, because
we believe in the word of Catholic.
Yeah, because there's literally thousands of gods. So, just to be very clear, that book is full of horror. So it's interesting to me, and I'm not going to go on this tangent, but it's interesting to me that certain types, for that example, will give someone a hard time about a horror book or Harry Potter because it's quote unquote sacrilegious or whatever, but they kind of read a horror book. That's how I view it. I try not to get all uptight about it.
That is a very interesting perspective, though, if you look at it. I mean, people are getting hurt in horror films or for horror fiction or, every horror. I mean, I'm looking at Anne Rice, which I've read extensively when I was a teen, and that's vampire horror. It's definitely horrifying, and people are getting hurt, but almost as a coping mechanism. I think horror exists as a coping mechanism and educational, kind of just to fill in the fight and flight impulses in our heads, because we don't have that in modern society. We really don't. we're extremely safe in the context of the world, right?
Right now, kind of. Not right now, but like
not right now, but because we're in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you wish. It's not that cool, man.
Yeah, you know. Well, at least with a zombie apocalypse, there's actually an enemy.
Yeah,
that you can. Right now, there's no enemy. Yeah, there's no enemy. You cannot see it. Well, zombies, you can't see the actual cause, right? It's always been some sort of virus or some sort of thing, right?
Okay, you can see the puppet then. How about that?
Yes, sure. I'll take that. But no, I mean, yeah, we're extremely safe. Where our fight and flight instinct is not engaged, and that's what horror fills in. That to remind us that we're actually still human, right? We still have all these things that we are scared at. And it's like roller coasters. What is the best thing to do for humans? Is to face death, face danger, well, also knowing that it's not real danger, and then come out completely unscathed, right? That's like the most exhilarating feeling a person can ever feel, I think. Just face absolute danger. So roller coasters works exactly the same way as horror. So if he's gonna question horror, he's gotta question roller coasters.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was, fuck him. I don't know his name. Don't care. That's how, like, I don't care how that sounds. That's how I view it. Like, if you're gonna try to give me a hard time, take a fucking walk, buddy. I'm not playing that game.
Well, at least it's not someone who's going, what is a horror?
It's everywhere. But, just to prove one more point, like, Beowulf, that's what, the oldest,
yes.
The oldest story, an epic poem, the oldest
English epic. The oldest English epic.
That's a fucking horror. That is what? That's about a monster that eats people. That's about a guy that that's about a guy.
You go to Greek literature, like ancient Greece. That's all kinds of mangling. It's all kinds of arm being torn up and faces being melted.
Yeah, I mean, I love Greek history. They got a lot of interesting gods. Roman history is pretty cool too. I like the Roman Empire history.
I subscribe to Bacchus.
What's that?
I have a son. I subscribe to Bacchus. Bacchus.
What is that? I'm still.
That's the god of wine.
Yeah,
I have a son.
Yeah, I enjoy wine too, man. I didn't for a while, and I don't drink a whole lot anymore. But my wife and I, for like Valentine's Day, we had a bottle of red wine. That was fun. But I like a good wine.
You need to get your daddy's little helper once in a while. even though I'm relatively dry for the last 2.5 years, this whole situation with the self-containment, man, it was especially with a 6-year-old, who's not like, you're talking about like the 6-year-old all the way to like early teen when they stopped caring about you and they just kind of go into their own room. That kind of in-between period, well, man, I think it seriously makes me want to drink again.
So it's almost 11 a.m. there. I'm surprised I don't hear him.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the office, right? I have the door locked, and he, you don't hear it, but right on the periphery of the mic, I can actually hear him shouting about Animal Crossing. Again, not sponsored. But it's a thing, man. I mean, creating your own island, why not? You can't go out.
Just to put this out there, if they do want me to sponsor them, no fucking clue why they would, but if they did, oh yeah, I will sign up for that.
You want some Nintendo money. You want some of that Nintendo money.
Alright, let's put this out there. The first game I played ever, the first video game I have ever played, I was 3. My parents got me a NES. It was Super Mario Brothers. I've been hooked ever since, man. I love Nintendo.
Yeah, who doesn't know, right? They're pretty family, but the first real game that I played outside of like all that is actually Doom. So
Ooh, you're talking about the original Doom that came in, what, like 94 or something?
Or 93. 93.
Ah, man, I was a year off. Okay, yeah, that's a classic right there.
Oh yeah, that's. I think that kind of put me on the trajectory of like everything can be hurt, everything must bleed.
Yeah, that's a great game to just like have fun, shut your brain off, and say, let's kill some shit. Doesn't matter.
And demons at that, you know. I'm not hurting real people. I'm hurting demons.
Which is why the new game, Doom Eternal, can get away with all the crazy shit, and it just doesn't.
It's a brilliant game, though. I just finished it a couple of days ago. Man, it's hard.
I don't have a update, like a current console for that reason, because I wouldn't get anything done. I'd be too hooked. How is it? How is Doom Eternal?
Well, again, not sponsored, but it's.
But if they want to,
of course, yes, please sponsor this. Just anyone out there with a video game that is, AAA title, all kinds of big, come sponsor. We will put in an episode every 6 months. You know.
Yeah, sure.
No, I mean it's brilliant, right? You're right. It's that catharsis of like just getting out there, shut your brains off, just exercise just the hand-eye coordination and just go. And then just like it's satisfying. It's a weird satisfaction of just like putting a knife through the demon's head and then rip his eye out. It's satisfying. I mean, say what you want about me. I love it.
Hey, look, one of my favorite games is Grand Theft Auto. I don't care. I like Grand Theft Auto 3. Vice City was a classic. I liked a bunch of them, but I like just going in a car, running someone over, and doing it all over again.
And over and over and over and over. Go into the military base. You can't do that in real life.
Yeah, I mean, you might get arrested if you get caught. So,
or you can storm Area 51, you know. That.
I forgot all about that. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, it did, okay, apparently. Like, one person got in and got super arrested. But, it feels like a lifetime ago, though, doesn't it? It's like less than 6 months ago, I think.
I forgot all about that, honestly, until you mentioned it. And I have a feeling that even if the virus never happened, I would have forgotten about it.
Right, you were not on track on the alien conspiracies.
No, I mean, I'm not a non-believer. I don't give a shit what a bunch of crazy bastards have to do. Like, it's like making fun of flat earthers. Like, yeah, it's fun and all, but you're just gonna make yourself crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only way to change people is normalize them, right? That's the whole thing with okay, I'm going into a little weird tangent. People are taking their social justice a little bit too much and using too much attack theory, especially online. They're using attack strategies.
Mob mentality, man.
Yeah, but it's the only way to make people change. Their way of thinking is to treat them like people and to tell them, look, this is what I believe. You don't have to believe it. You don't, but that's choose to be able to share those information, instead of going out and go, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And you're evil for that. I mean, of course, a lot of things in societies are actually more or less evil, but saying that to someone who has a deep set belief of a certain thing is extremely unhelpful, right? Okay, let's cut that off there because we're going on a weird place on that.
No, it's a touchy subject because I'm sure once you bring up that, people are going to have something in their mind where it's not the same as someone else that has some other touchy subject in their mind. I don't know, man. It's people. People are weird.
Right. So yeah, that's how are we doing on time? Looks like we're doing pretty good. You're filling up those minutes.
Filling up those minutes. Yeah, it's the new slogan of my show. Just fill up the minutes. Doesn't matter what we say. Hopefully you listen.
That's right. Just blah 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 blah. Charlie Browning it.
Waka waka waka. Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, is there anything else that you would like to tell anyone? Where can people follow you? Because we're at about hour and a half, and that's usually where I like to end things.
Right. Well, we can obviously go on forever. I mean, we're just literally just rambling, right? But yeah, no, find me on Twitter. Find it on Cybornut, CYBORNUT. That's pretty much my main mode of outside communication outside of China. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we are looking at possibly putting on a limited time for Ostinato to be on YouTube for very brief moments of like couple of months. So, well, maybe a month, because a lot of film festivals are canceling, obviously, due to this whole thing. There's no congregations. There's no meeting. So we are going to look into maybe releasing that for a month, on YouTube. And I will release information on that on Twitter at some point. Again, not gonna look at massive views because I'm just a dude. I ain't no celebrity. I do my daily grind. I have this cool job that I thought we did a pretty decent work on. That, I'd like to get some views on it, and that's about it. As far as right now, the world situation, and again, you're aiming to get this thing out, I don't know, June, possibly?
Yeah, no, it'll be out in June.
Hopefully by that time the world has stopped flinging shit at each other. The world leaders are not, and actually buttoned down and did all their jobs. And, and this thing would have been over, Yeah,
it'd be nice. Well,
it's not likely, but hopefully it will. I mean, I'm not talking about a specific leader. I'm talking about the world right now. People are scared. People are confused. And I really think it's the job of independent media like us, and then as well as the government leader to go out there and go, hey, this thing is shit. This thing is fucking scary. There's going to be a lot of death. I've had death in the family due to this. And we are going to get together and solve this issue as humans, as humanity, instead of like a country or this and that. I mean, again, this is probably going to get me yelled at from the podcast audience, but there's no blaming now. It's natural. It's what it is. It's like two people walking in the mountainside and then both got hit by the same boulder. And there's no yelling at each other going, who got hurt more?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the main thing we should take away from this is, and by the way, I'm sorry to hear that, I should say, about your family, because that's awful. My uncle had it, still has it. I believe my aunt does too. They're getting better each day, but yeah, I'm real sorry to hear about that. That's horrible. I think the thing we should all take away from this, and we're all people, so we're going to forget about this, just like for in America in 9/11, that American pride only lasts for a few months that I witnessed. Hopefully a lot of us can take away, just remember we are not indestructible, that we should be kinder to people. Not everyone. I'm going to make that clear. Everyone is not nice. Some people are assholes. So just try not giving a shit what the assholes think.
Well, it's a different attitude, right? It's a situation, not only this, I think this made everyone should be extremely abundantly clear that we need to be more selfish. And in order to make everyone else better. What does that mean? I have to protect myself. I have to protect my family. If I protect myself and my family by staying in, doing the social distancing, by knowing that I'm not invincible, by washing my hand, not touching my face. Right now, United States are recommending masks. That is gonna help a little bit, by the transmission rate, etc. That is what we need to do. And that's how I deal with the assholes. That's how you have to protect yourself. If you're an asshole, protect yourself from other people.
Yeah.
That way you don't get sick because other people will be doing the same to you. So if you're sick, stay at home, call your medical, professional. There are hotlines set up everywhere. Get to it, and then be safe, right? If you are safe and you're cutting yourself from people who might get it, who were not safe, and they are also doing the same thing, we're all safe.
Yeah, it definitely helps to kind of listen. I had a great time talking to you. I learned a lot, and more people should watch Kung Fu Hustle. Oh, and Ostinato.
Oh, yeah. And Ostinato, it's a good film. It's short, but it's not bad. Please watch it.
Sponsored by Dead Headspace.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, the dead came a calling. That was scary.
Yeah, most people won't understand that. What it says on my Skype name is the title of the show, Dead Headspace. But what you see when I'm calling someone is just dead. Dead is calling you. So didn't really mean to do that. I don't really feel like changing it because that's funny. But Luke, it was a great time talking to you. Phil, I can't talk. Yeah, it's getting past my bedtime. Phil,
that bit will be edited. That bit will be edited out by the person who edits it.
Yeah, it's me. I'm not gonna do that. Feel free to come back whenever you have your first feature ready to go.
Oh, that's probably at the rate it's going. That is, if I ever make it before the end of days, it hopefully will be nice. Yes.
Positive thinking, my friend. I hope you have a good day. I
gotta be pessimistic.
Because right now,
stay negative, everyone. Just stay negative.
Yeah, stay negative. So it's daytime for you. Almost 11 p.m. for me. I gotta go to bed. I gotta work in the morning. But it was great talking to you, man. And
oh yeah, again, thanks a lot for people. Again, just putting it out there. People who are in essential services, if nothing goes wrong, are invisible to the world. But in shit like this, please remember to thank them. That's that's very important. I mean, they're out there fighting, just as the rest of us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely, man. Have a good night or day. Be safe.
Or
Be
afternoon.
Safe,
I mean, you too. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
We are in your mind. We are all around. You are now leaving Dead Headspace.